How's it going, everyone? No camera tonight. I just don't feel like getting that damn green screen out and setting it all up. I'm sorry, but we can still have at least a couple hours to ourselves. Um, I've been threatening to do a Thursday night stream in addition to a Sunday night stream because I usually get off early from work on Thursday nights. Early for me, anyway. It's middle of the night for most people. Um, But like I said, tonight I feel very under the weather. It's season change and lack of sleep. I'm just absolutely drained. But like I said, I'm still gonna record something and upload it later. Um, Sorry. Um, but we can have some background music here. This is from White Bat Audio. I don't know how you guys feel about dark synthwave, but I have really grown to appreciate it within the last couple of years. It's simplistic, but yet very atmospheric, and I don't know, something about my inner demons just really likes it. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm the villain. But this is royalty free with attribution from Karl Casey at White Bat Audio. Love the work you do, Karl. Uh, Very, very nice compositions. I really enjoy his work. Um, like I said, it all has that sort of 80s synthwave motif, but of course it's much darker, more like John Carpenter's style of music, or Dancing with the Dead, or the heavier, darker like synthwave aficionados out there. Um, and this is generally what I listen to, or maybe a mixture curated by YouTube based on my tastes, music-wise. There are, of course, actual artists, self-produced or publicized by major record labels. So I don't think I can really like play them in the background, even with attribution. But White Bat Audio, I know, as per his description and his reputation, as long as you give attribution, again, to Karl Casey at White Bat Audio. Again, a massive fan. I am not receiving any money from him to I'm not affiliated with White Bat Audio. I'm just a fan. But many, many hours I've sat here listening. Well, I guess we could play it. I've already made sure the audio is the right levels, doing various backgrounds, although it does sound a bit too loud to me. Just ever so slightly. There we go. Like I said, it's got a heavy beat. It's very atmospheric, a very 80s like horror movie vibes. I really enjoy it. But many hours I'll spend here, just drawing on good old MS Paint 3D. Now, I have no idea what I wanted to do with this video for a first Thursday night hangout, other than I don't want it to be exactly about my book, because that's what the Sunday stream is for. So I thought maybe I'll dive into my creation process. If you're familiar with the YouTube channel Tales Foundry, where they talk about the literary aspect of storytelling and all that good stuff, you'll sort of get the vibe I'm going for is basically, rather than with Tale Foundry explaining or deep diving into various novels and short stories and examining the metaphor and the allegory and the deeper meaning behind it, or with literary tropes like villains, anti-villains, heroes, anti-heroes, which Tale Foundry's anti-villains deep dive is it's a 20-minute watch. Watch it. It's really, really good. I've always enjoyed a good anti-villain. For those of you who do not know, an anti-villain is basically a villain who does bad things for seemingly, at least on surface level, thinking good reasons. So that would be like Thanos, essentially. It's like he doesn't want to kill half the universe, although secretly does. He's trying to seduce a death goddess. Um, but it's about sort of like culling the herd with deer. It's like you don't want them to starve to death, do you? Well, we gotta, shoot some of them, basically. That, of course, is completely cracked. You literally could have used the gauntlet to do anything else. You could have made the gauntlet make the universe infinite, therefore it would have infinite resources. You could have gotten the gauntlet to snap into existence regenerating resources. Every resource is renewable. It just grows back, like Deadpool's ass or Wolverine's foreskin. Yeah, see, there's no need to kill half of everyone, but we all know the real reason is he wanted to seduce the Death Goddess, and she just is not having it. Simp. Anyway. That's me shitting on Thanos for a little bit. Otherwise, Thanos is a great character. A little OP, a little overpowered, but a good villain should be. A good villain should be a threat. But I need to make some background templates for when I do live stream next Sunday, this upcoming Sunday, which would be, we'll check the old calendar there, 28th. The hell is World Marine Day? I swear to God, they're just making crap up these days. Anyway. So yes, I do exclusively do my graphic novels in MS Paint 3D, and I'm going to tell you why, a little bit of backstory, a little bit of lore on me. A lot of times, to keep me bemused as a child, and I was definitely a child you had to keep entertained, or I was going to wander off and set shit on fire. No, literally. My mom would put me in front of her work computer where she was off doing other things, and there's only two things on a basic work computer that a child might find remotely interesting. Minesweeper and MS Paint. Old school MS Paint, that you see I still have. I still use it from time to time, but I much prefer Paint 3D. It's just better. I was really sad to find out that it's going to become a defunct app. Windows Store will not be updating it. And you know what happens next. If Windows stops updating something, pretty soon you won't be able to get it anymore. Like Windows Movie Maker, like back in the day. I used to love using Windows Movie Maker. The best I could do is a knockoff app called WinApp, which is essentially a copy, with a few modern updates. It's okay, but it's not Windows Movie Maker. I used to love playing around Windows Movie Maker. Unfortunately, all of those videos I made burned with house fire we had 2004. The family home lost everything, including pictures of me growing up. So, yeah. That wasn't as devastating as when we lost Daddy in 2003. I swear, it just feels like my life has been on a roller coaster ever since that. Like, you know that roller coaster of death they invented? I don't know if you know about this, but I think it's like some MIT physicist invented a roller coaster that has like something like 15 loops, and the G-force was designed to remove all the blood from your brain just long enough to kill you. Sort of like a last hurrah, basically, but it's a suicide roller coaster, essentially. That's what it feels like. After having a parent die and then losing your family home to a fire within the span of 1 year. But what kept me focused and almost like a meditation almost is drawing. I used to fill marble compositions full of things I would doodle, ideas I would have, sketches. It would, if you were to just find one of my old marble compositions, like laying in a trash can somewhere, and open it, it would totally look like schizo post in real life. Like just random thoughts, random sayings, doodles. But it was a way to, like I said, sort of disassociate. And I've been doing that my whole life. I learned the alphabet backwards from the chalkboard drawing in a corner because the teachers just didn't want to deal with me because I was such unruly and violent child. So, but because of that, I have a very strong connection to MS Paint and MS Paint 3D by extension, because it's always been sort of just, I don't know, my equivalent of a fidget toy before fidget toys were a thing. And it just helps me focus and helps me kind of vent some darker feelings that probably need to be let out, but shouldn't be let out in a way that's unproductive or unhealthy. Let's put it that way. But that's enough of my tragic backstory. I need backdrops for what's coming up with PGH. Got 3 books in, and we got past the Dark Age, basically, where they had reestablished a colony on Hazaya, and they were making copies of the Humble, or little facsimile knockoffs of the Humble. And the scientists didn't want to go back to war and have their children be sacrificed for, a reclaiming of the homeworld battle. So they betrayed the other techs, basically the doers and the bureaucrats, by stealing the ships they made and fucking off to parts unknown. No one ever really knows what happened to them. But of course, their ships, being fueled by hydrogen, they pretty much have an infinite range. As long as they got a source of hydrogen, they're good. And then we got a touchstone, the First Republic. The Old Republic is what they refer to it in Revenge of the Forsaken, which is basically a speed run of disaster. Everything that could go wrong with the Republic went wrong. You had you had senators selling votes. When they would retire from their position, they would pretty much have an auction to sell their seat, because their endorsement would almost guarantee that you would get that seat. Nepotism, corruption through lobbyists, like you name it, special interest groups. It was just like speed running failure, and it ended, it sort of culminated with a sort of a night of mass assassinations, where the constituents would basically hunt down their prospective senators and just kill them in the streets, very, very Roman style. Which, that level of technology they were thrust back into, sort of late Bronze Age, it would be appropriate. Just because a scientist left does not mean that everyone who knew how to do things. Gawain the Great himself had a sort of schizo post book similar to mine, because again, he's sort of an insert character with random ideas. The first part of the Book of Gawain is required reading at school in Ulysses nowadays, because it explains everything that happened leading up to how the Humble crashed. It even names names. Like, he specifically names Savin Krent, who was the catalyst for the Norqua uprising that resulted in a bunch of Norqua being able to negotiate their way onto the Humble. That he was a constant antagonist. He was constantly bucking authority, constantly questioning things, and not in a productive manner, in a very much an antagonistic manner. And Gawain got to where he just sort of despised this dude, and really, towards the end, just before the crash, like, basically lamented bringing them along, because they would be nothing but just obstinate and in the way. But he never foresaw the scientists betraying him. And when that happened, the last book entry for the Book of Gawain, where it's sort of like the story arc of how they came to be there, he damns them all. He damns the Bailers, he damns the scientists, and he basically has a standing order for the future of all techs from that point on is find these people and punish them. It's like this. It's beyond reconciliation. Just punish them. And of course, the techs later on, when they became a lot more advanced, a lot more solid in their new government, which is the Triarchy. Now, what the hell is a Triarchy? Now, you're probably thinking it's like a triumvirate, right? Like the whole Roman thing, right? Not necessarily. A triumvirate, really and truly, the original triumvirate, the only one that really existed, I believe it was Caesar and like two other dudes. So, literally Googling this. Julius Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus. Okay, yeah. I wanted to say the second dude was Pompey. There was a second one. Now, the official definition is, in ancient Rome, it's literally the only place that ever existed, a group of three men holding power, in particular, the unofficial correlation of Julius Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus. Okay, so basically it's a tiny oligarchy. It's not the same thing as the tech triarchy. The tech triarchy had rules. First and foremost, when it comes to ascension, triumvirates usually were a very much a popularity contest. With the tech nations triarchy, that was not the case. It was very much heraldic and an inheritance because of the fact that it is done with the old families. So the McGowans, the Kuliks, and the Kolks. Alright, and what I'm drawing here is the addressment perch on the Triarchal Palace, which one of the three kings would usually give an addressment coming out to this little triangular spot here, which it really isn't a podium, it's more of a perch, and would talk to the ancient press. And I mean the ancient press, because this was upwards of like 800 years ago. But there were still journalists, there were still people who printed or even hand circulated flyers and news, even back then. Because again, the techs know things exist. They know journalism exists. They know that the concept of newspapers are like having eventually news on radio or television. They just had no clue, like the anime Dr. Stone, how to make these things. So they had to basically just live with the frustration of knowing things exist, but not knowing in any way, shape, or form how to make them. It's a very frustrating thing. I sort of encountered that in real life when trying to relearn how to do wire circuits and solder. I never really paid attention to a lot of the like esoteric stuff that my dad would do, like hobby-wise, like radios and doing his own circuitry and circuit boards and stuff. I always thought it was interesting, but it didn't really appeal to me. I've always been more of an artist than a scientist. But later in life, when I started doing my wiring for my own props, I quickly found out that, hey, it's good to have this information, actually. So YouTube was very helpful in learning the basics, or relearning the basics, I should say. Alright, here's a little tip. If you want something symmetrical, always use the box tool. Don't try to freehand that crap. It's going to be crooked. Or you could capture it, and actually that's probably the better way. Copy, paste, flip it, pop it, twist it. And there we go. Nice and symmetrical. So this has got like a doorway that leads to the perch. I'm probably going to put like a little torch here and a little torch here. And I might animate it using A-Sprite down here. Very, very nice pixel animation tool. I think it's $20 for the license, and it's for life. Excellent deal. Just do all that. So I'm basically just using the mouse at this point. I do have the little digital drawing screen in front of me, but probably won't need it. Now, I want to talk about while we're drawing here, I want to talk about something that I've always found very frustrating, which is writer's block. I suffered from it for a very long time. That's part of the reason why I didn't put up the newer volumes of 8th Fleet, which some of them are outlined, some of them are not. And I just couldn't bring myself to write. Because it just felt like, one, as with the review I showed in the previous live stream, the one and true, like, actual organic review 8th Fleet had, the guy hated it. Just hated the whole thing. And it's like, I get it. Like, it's not an easy read. Gonna do like a sort of a hinge thing, you know, like a big heavy steel, or not steel but iron hinge, like right there. Everything text build, they build it for longevity. So like their doors are really, really heavy wooden doors. But interior doors are pocket doors, they slide. Exterior always swing out. And that's something that's very tech, is that when you're used to a door, like standing on someone's porch, you're used to the door swinging in, but that's actually tactically unsound if you're trying to defend your house from, say, home invaders, because the door jamb, if it swings out, can reinforce the door substantially and make it almost impossible to kick in. But because all exit doors swing out, it's very easy to battering ram or kick in a door. Alright, and what I'm going to do here is... yeah. So we went on a nice charcoal. And then some rivets. Spacing. Always the damn spacing it gets me, I swear. Looks like I riveted this. You need to stop doing that. There we go. So that's it's kind of a cultural thing, because if you notice, those of you who have read Revenge of the Forsaken, whenever there is a Troc doorway, it's like a standard American doorway. It swings in, and that shows you the level of like paranoia and distrust that techs have. Like everyone in Usawa is predominantly tech, even with the number of Trocs who live there. They're less than like 1%, especially during the Triarchal period. And many factors going into that. One is just good old-fashioned racism, but also Trocs are kind of terrified of techs because of how unhinged and violent they can be from their perspective. From the tech's perspective, their anger is righteous. The Bailers must pay. But, to someone who grew up sort of, to coin a phrase, an innocent Bailer who doesn't know jack about anything of ancient history about how the ship crashed and, it's your ancestors' fault that they were all stuck here. They're like, dude, what is your problem? It's like, I just met you. Why are you so hostile? Alright, so we need some sconces. That's one of my favorite words. Sconce. Something very medieval, because that would be fitting with the period. Or a cone. I would say that there's going to be like a basket style sconce here. Now, perspective wise, when you're got a flat shot looking at an area that has depth behind it, you want to make your sconces look like they're slightly off center. So like that. Very slight, very subtle. But you see how that adds depth. One, you made the doors smaller than a person who would be standing here, so their head and shoulders would be right about here, and the door looks way too short because it's in the background. And by offsetting the sconce just a little bit, look at that. And, I want an opening so you can see the fire on the inside. Now, of course, with a Triarchy, like I said, there are rules. And they did that to sort of fight the main problem of corruption and with the First Republic area. Now, a lot of people make fire with these tools, in my opinion, incorrectly. I like to use the smudgy crayon because all fire, believe it or not, is actually just really hot smoke. I know that sounds but basically what's happening is the fire is particles of carbon that are still red hot, that are going up with the heat plume from the chemical reaction. So, give it there. There we go. See how that goes? So that looks like an explosion. Like, this looks very energetic. So, too much. And then, of course, if you animated this with a sprite, where you just basically just keep doing it again and again and again, so that it's slightly different, and it gives it a dancing characteristic, there you go. And you have fire. And because it's going one direction, it implies there's a wind effect. So you're going to want to mirror that over there. But the problem is the sconce has to be mirrored, so it's out the right angle. I'll show you. Alright. So, copy. Try to get that symmetry just right. Yeah, it looks good. Now, see what just happened? The sconce is the right direction, but the fire is not. So here's what you do. And there we go. And yeah, there's some artifacting and mistakes left behind, but most people aren't going to zoom in and notice that. Now, very important, a little bit of smoke effect. Just a little bit. And you definitely do not want them to look the same. And smoke always has more than just a billowment. It has sort of a haze. So you want to, like that. There we go. Now, you want to make a really warm glow around these, so that it gives the impression it's illuminating something. It isn't just hanging there in space. And there we go. Sconces. Now, the seal of the triarchy is, of course, an inverted triangle, as you probably already guessed. However, the three old families' crests are at each side of it. Again, hinting that this is a more stable triumvirate. It isn't a rotating, list of three dudes who are important. One, it's heraldic in that it is an ancestral, that it's inherited. So, let's start with the Kulks. Now, the Kulks have a crest of three old-timey keys. So, like that. You want to make sure they're the same size as well. That way everything looks symmetrical. And definitely want to fill that. Okay. So, and turn it about 55 degrees. And you see what we're doing here. We're making a K, letter K, capital, formed out of three keys. Now, what is the significance of three keys? Well, the Kulks, as mentioned before, when I was slightly touching on the triarchy, they are the bureaucracy. They handle... Yeah, we're going to have to reposition that. That's fine, though. These tips are going to be taken out. But one of the things that they are most known for is the fact that after the Humble crashed, the Humble has a set of command keys, just like keys for a car. And Gawain the Great and Kulik did not want to have these own him the whole time. And so the only person they trusted to have all of the keys at once to the Humble was Kulk. And so he became sort of known as the key bearer. And although later on they would request their keys back, currently there are only 3 keys known to exist. There was a 4th key which was supposed to be a spare, but it was lost. But the 3 keys, still analogous to the Triarchy, they represented basically the only way off of this planet. It doesn't matter if you fix the Humble, if you can't get its main computer and all of its systems to activate with that key, you ain't going nowhere. So, it's the fact that this guy would be trusted with such an important thing as the keys to the only spaceship off this planet lets you know how trustworthy he is. And cults, generally, historically speaking, are very trustworthy. However, there was one in particular, which I'll probably be going over next Sunday stream, who was not very trustworthy. He would, in fact, make shit up. And one of the things he made up was previously, if you are a citizen of the Tech Nation and you're required to have a piece of documentation, that would be provided for free. You just have to come down and register. Because it's required. It's why should you have to pay for something that's required? Yeah, I wish our government would actually take a note on that. But he started telling young families who just had a child, there is now a quarter silver tax on birth certificate registrations. Now that's not a lot of money. That's maybe like $5. And of course, you trust your king, right? Why would he lie to you? So people would just pay it. And it's literally sort of like the one of my favorite Ricky Gervais movies, The Invention of the Lie, where he lives in a hypothetical world where no one's ever lied before, and Ricky Gervais's character, I may have the title wrong, starts lying, and it's like a superpower. This first scene is he goes to the bank and he says, there seems to be a problem with my bank account, and she's like, oh, well, what is it? It's like, well, I was supposed to have $10,000 in it, but it only says I have 2. That's not correct. And of course, in a world where lies don't exist, the customer is always right. So they literally put 10 grand in this dude's account simply because of the fact he lied. Because in this world there is nothing but the truth. Therefore, we could only assume that is a mistake on the bank's fault, on the bank's part. So he instantly got $10,000 cash. And it's a hilarious movie. Most of Ricky Gervais's projects that he does himself, like partially funded by him, are actually really good. Alright, so the Kulks, they are the bureaucracy. They are trusted to keep records and all that. But as said, most importantly, they are trusted with these 3 keys. Now, it's important to point out that this crest of 3 keys forming the letter K, the keys you see are just old-timey keys, like skeleton keys. That's a modernization. The actual humble command keys, as seen in Revenge of the Forsaken Truth, they kind of look like a honeycomb. They're a 3-dimensional key. They're also magnetic at certain points. Because obviously you don't want someone stealing your goddamn spaceship, now do you? Always loved that, like in Star Wars and Star Trek, that if you gain access to the inside of a starship, if you just go to the cockpit and start punching stuff in, you can fly it. There's no keys, there's no access codes, there's nothing. No transfer of authorization, not a damn thing. It always kind of reminds me also of how video phones work in movies and television. is that there is no ringtone like in a Skype call. It just instantly gives you a two-way view into the room when you punch in the right number. And of course, there's a hilarious nod and a wink to that, the Spaceballs, where he takes the video call next to the urinal while he's pissing, and he's like, "Don't ever call me on this wall. This is an unlisted wall." And of course, he's making fun of that trope too. Of for some reason in sci-fi movies, especially when you video call someone, it just instantly activates their side of the conversation, and they can just instantly see what you're doing, like Big Brother. And I'm like, that is not how that works at all. Now, I'm really glad that's not how that works at all. Okay, so do the Kulix real quick. Every Triarch, but the descendants of Gowan, the Mick-Gowans, which is short for Mika, which means descendant of, because they didn't want to step on his legacy in case they did screw up. The only descendant of Gowan who chose to go with Gowan was Gowan II, and he explained that the reason he legally changed his name was, one, he didn't want to be named after his father because that's being overshadowed by his legacy, and two, he wanted second billing. There's Gowan the Great, and if you look in the history books, then there's Gowan the Second. Basically said, skip over all the a-holes who are before me. I'm the real, true descendant of Gowan the Great. So it just sort of shows his ego with Gowan the Second. He's very much like a P.T. Barnum meets Julius Caesar. It's like he has I would despise bringing modern politics into this, but he's very much a Trumpian character before Trump was even a political thing. He's like, well, that's the beginning and that's first and last time I'll bring that up. Like I said, there are no modern politics, just in universe politics. If you see any correlation between that and real world politics, well, that's just your imagination. All right, so the Kulix. The Kulix have always been like the begrudging partner. The scene in Ghostbusters where they're having to convince Egon of something. I forget the actual scene, but it's like Venkman's like, come on. It's like, no, and then finally he just caves. Like, okay. Or is that Stripes? Well, that may have been Stripes, not Ghostbusters. But anyway, that is basically the Kulix. Like the assassin Mufasa, if you ask them 3 times, eventually they'll just say yes. So they become the begrudging third partner in the scheme to embezzle money to build the starships Humble and Aveta. And the reason Humble is an English word name and the Aveta is something I pulled out of my ass is because the Aveta is based on Etos, which is a root language of Panjian. Think like Latin. Like, it forms modern Panjian, but modern Panjian, like English, is a cosmopolitan language formed of different older languages. It's or my best description of English is 3 other languages in a trench coat pretending to be one. I think I'll have a beer. Ooh, yes. I know you can't see me, I'm not on camera, but tonight's beverage of choice is Busch Light. So every time I drink Busch, I'm just immediately reminded of the Family Guy joke of whether they're having dinner with the nudists, and the wife offers Peter a beer, and he's like, "Well, what do you got?" So I've got Busch. Awkward pause. Oh, and Busch Light. That was a hilarious episode. Alright, so the Kulix also are kind of the, like I said, they're the liberal of the group. They're the old hippie, basically. It's like, man, you can do what you want, just don't do it to me, and don't do it to anyone else either unless they consent, So everyone just chill out. Usually very level-headed, very matter-of-fact. Just chill dudes. When you think Kulik, think chill. Like, and usually very smart. A lot of them were doctors and scientists. Some were civil engineers, dubiously, which led to the progressive era of the Triarchy when they eventually got deposed. But every triarchal family has like one a-hole who like really screwed up bad, and the rest of them are like trying to like live it down. Like I said, with the Kulks, it was the one who lied and literally invented the tax and was siphoning money off of the taxpayers. With the Kuliks, it was arming the police. I know that sounds like a radical concept, but back in the day, like British bobbies, most civil enforcers, basically cops, they wear a blue sash and they wear a blue officer's cap. You see one in Revenge of the Forsaken, the city. Really good close-up picture, because I wanted to show the difference between ranger enforcers and civil enforcers. Civil enforcers are just cops. They patrol the streets, they have little precincts they operate out of, and anyone can apply to be one, and they have a training program that takes a couple of months, and then you can be a cop. Ranger enforcers are the polar opposite. Not anyone can just become a ranger enforcer. You have to go through the Marshall Academy, you have to have a lone hunt, where you track down an outlaw by yourself to prove that you can do the job. There are many physical, mental, and skill-related prerequisites that you have to be a ranger enforcer, because it's a very lethal job in more ways than one. It has a 25% mortality rate, so that means 1 of every 4 ranger enforcers don't come back from a hunt. And the ranger enforcer is really the left hand of the Triarchy. That they are the reason you fear the Triarchy. Because literally, like ordering a pizza, the Triarchy could order your severed head be brought to them on a platter, like ancient samurai style. And that is actually based on the warring Civil War period of ancient Japan. They would have a trial, basically, with a severed head brought back by a samurai of a person who was issued essentially a death warrant by the shogunate, and they would literally examine the head, talk to witnesses who said, yes, this is the person that he was supposed to kill, and then they would pay you out Rio gold, essentially, for exchange for this severed head. And the severed head, of course, was one, proof that they're dead. Most people can't live without a head. And it's also identification, because it has their face. So, there you go. But, the Kuliks, once convinced to go ahead with this great scheme to use the Ancient One's technology against them, which they thought could not be done, but it can be done. Any technology can be used against you. Hell, the simple fact of the radio in warfare, like, revolutionized warfare. More than even, like, machine guns or high explosives. There we go. Alright, so. Is that a little crooked? Damn it. I hate that. So I know that the music choice does not fit the period we're talking about, like, at all. But, like, other than, like, maybe, like the McDonald archive of, like, YouTube, like, you know, fantasy music, which I don't particularly care for. It's like I said, it is to me, this is a chill music track. It's as bass drops. This is chill. God, I must sound like a fucking demon. Anyway, to me, this is chill. More so than like lo-fi beats for, you know, studying and crap like that. I've never really cared for this. It's not hard enough. Doesn't pique my interest. Alright, so the Kulaks. Why are they 3 rings forming what looks like a moon or an eclipse? What you're looking at is what the Kulaks are most famous for, is on the bridge of the Humble. They were so like Spock, sort of manning the view screen, and he's like, hey, come take a look at this. And this was the first spotting of Hazaya. But at that time, there was a convergence between Zira, the little pink moon, Tauran, the forest moon, and far away because of distance, Hazaya. And they're like, hey, we got 2 green planets to live, potentially live on. They passed Tauran, and they realized there are people there. There are alt-humans. They're humans with a slightly different genetic background, different evolutionary background, but pretty much humans. And they're like, well, we might have issues with them. They're primitive, you know, a bunch of shape-shifting, you know, space demons landing on their planet. Even if they're Stone Age, like they're going to be a problem. And they really didn't want to have to fight these people. It's like we're not the assholes here. The Ancient Ones are. It's just we can't find a place to live that will take us. So they then went to Hazaya and they scanned it, and they're like, well, there's some megafauna, big birds, big dinosaur-like creatures, huge mammals, huge fish in the ocean. They're like, it's kind of a death world, but you know, we could tough it out. So the original plan was to go down, scoop up some fuel deposits they saw in Mount Zirid, and refuel, and then sort of take a vote with the passengers. You want to stay here because it's not exactly hospitable. I mean, it's got giant goddamn crows and, you know, velociraptors running through its forests. It's like, this is not a friendly planet at all. But of course, once the Baylors heard under Savin Krent's leadership that they're descending to a new planet and they're also low on fuel, he's like, right, let's go. Start making parachutes. One of the questions asked about that was there no one watching these Norqua? In other words, like I said, it's like, did anyone like fucking notice that they were like making a bunch of parachutes? And the answer is not really, because the parachute kind of looks similar to a backpack, and a bunch of people, after hearing, you know, that we're about to land, replicating some, you know, some rucksacks and maybe some camping gear, makes perfect sense. However, there was a struggle for control of the replicator, because the techs who were there, very few of them, were like, hey, we need this energy reserve to land, you know, stop replicating crap. And they're like, screw you. And that's when they knew that this was not people looking for, you know, they weren't making parachutes for funsies. Like they were going to jump out. All right. And there were a group of people there who were they're referred to as Kakado, but they were sort of like a soldier cult, and they were metamorphic. They could actually control their bodies completely through meditation. Some people said they were psychic. There's no real proof of that, because all of them formed a chain blocking the door to keep the Baylors from bailing. And of course, when they opened that door finally, they got sucked out first. Presumably they all died, but the Medikians who live on the far side of the planet, so like the farthest civilization of Baylors, they say that half of them were Kakado, that they were of this soldier cult, and that they tried their damnedest to stop the Baylors from bailing, but they couldn't. There's too many of them. They got swamped. And the text found that very interesting because the Medikians literally have the only record in their culture of what actually happened during the bailout. The difference is they sort of like inserted themselves as sort of like would-be heroes. And the text didn't know what to do with that at first because most Baylors they encountered don't know dick about even the Humble's existence, and if you tell them that, they'll just say you're crazy or lying. What I'm making right now is the Hessian Glane swooping out of the trees, and I'm going to mirror this to one side, but I wanted to just get one side done and then sort of flip it. And then that would be, and then correct this triangle a little bit. Maybe put the Coolix keys. Now, you may be thinking, the McGowans at the bottom tip, doesn't that make them like a junior partner? Quite the opposite. The Triarchy envisions this as a sword tip or a spear head. So the McGowans are actually first. They are the tip of the spear. They are the military and the courts. So, when it comes to divvying out justice, Justice Minerva, the goddess Minerva, she carries what? Scales. And what's in her other hand? A sword. To dispatch criminals. And of course, with most of McGowans throughout history having law degrees, they're lawyers, and technically the first and highest judge in the land. Oh, here is why the McGowans are considered military and courts. After landing, the first thing they had to do was secure this valley because of Eeps. And the Hessians warned the Panjians about the Eeps. And of course, that night they paid a little visit. So Galvin the Great's like, okay, we need to start forming teams of guys with guns to patrol around with torches and maybe even flamethrowers if we have enough fuel on hand to keep these little bastards out. So Galvin the Great was the force basically coordinating the Eepers, as that occupation would come to be known, people who protect you in the night from Eep attacks. They stay up all night guarding you. And from them branched off modern law enforcement and modern military. And what's interesting is that with the Trox, it was the same way. They didn't have cops or sheriffs or anything or a standing military at first. They had Eepers. But during the day, when people would like fight or scuffle and they would disturb the Eepers' sleep and they came out of their little hutches, they're like, what the fuck is going on out here? They would have to basically coordinate and stop the fight and try to mediate between the two, because there was no police or court system. You're restarting from year zero. So Galvin the Great, after landing, he was basically treated like a de facto magistrate. People would bring problematic people to him who have been basically put under citizen's arrest and say, hey, this guy did this. And the guy's like, I didn't do that, you're lying. And Galvin the Great would have to roll his eyes. It's like, okay. Any witnesses? Say, yeah, I saw him, he did it. And he's like, did he ask the guy in question, any reason why he would lie? And he's like, nah, not really. It's like, okay, well, we got a witness, we got an accusation. It's like, we're gonna have to put you in that little jail over there, sorry. And the first jail on Usalicese was actually a cargo container. And they literally would just put people in it, like sort of like a swelter box. And usually the punishment, because they need people to work, it wouldn't be severe. It'd be like a week in the hole, basically. But believe me, especially during the summertime when they landed, that cargo container got hot, like 100 degrees hot. So it was like putting someone in a swelter box. Like it was very much a punishment. However, they were given access to water and food. Like they weren't like tortured or anything. They were just made to be sticky and moist, and they didn't like it. But because of that, when the Triarchy came about, I hate that. Yeah. They were trying to think of, how to divvy out like purviews, because they don't want one king to have absolute authority over everything, and then the other two are just sort of like yes men. So it's sort of like tic-tac-toe or Rochambeau or something like, yeah. It's like they wanted to be able to have an even distribution of power. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, doesn't that mean the McGowans have everything? They got the military and the courts? Like, no. So they don't have the civil police. That's under the Kulaks. And they don't have any legitimacy unless the Kulks say it's legitimate through filing the proper paperwork. So the weakest probably is... Because here's the thing. Okay, scenario, hypothetical scenario. Say Gawain II wanted to overthrow the other kings using the military. Well, first and foremost, the Tech military, by its charter, cannot be issued. They will not follow unlawful orders. So rebelling against the other Triarchs is an unlawful order. So they don't have to obey that. It's that simple. And here's the thing, Gawain II was kind of a cut-up. So if he told his generals, hey, we're going to be overthrowing the other Triarchs today, his generals would probably just laugh and say, that's a good one, sir. You got me. And when Gawain II takes the pipe out of his mouth, he's like, no, we're overthrowing the other Triarchs today. That's when they would all just sort of like, whoa, guy, whoa. I know they piss you off sometimes, but can we discuss this? It's like, and of course, here comes. First and foremost, King Kulik, upon hearing that, would go to Kulk and say, okay, so King Al has lost his fucking mind, and he's trying to overthrow us and become a monarch. And again, Kulk would be like, are you serious? That's hilarious. And he's like, no, really. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, first and foremost, we can completely defund everything he does. It's like, because I'm the one who actually pays the fucking military. He just commands them. So the Kulks could literally just shut that down by just not paying people or threatening to not pay people. And I don't give a damn how loyal you are. Most people are not going to overthrow their government if they're not being paid. Unless that government's done something really, really bad. Then, because Gawain II would have been blatantly trying to overthrow the Triarchy, well, overthrowing the Triarchy is insurrection. He would literally be charged with insurrection. And he would probably be arrested by civil enforcers and thrown in his own dungeon. And then, more than likely, his son, Val, would have to instantly take the throne and replace him. Yeah, definitely want to redo that keys position. Maybe even make it a little bit smaller. See, the problem is you're dealing with three shapes that are not very symmetrical to each other. So it's very hard to get like a good symmetry going on. That... yeah, that's good. I kind of like that. Oh, I wanted to talk about character creation and writer's block. So I totally got distracted by that. I've suffered writer's block for many, many years, like I said, because that's part of the reason why 8th Fleet is not, up to volume 6 or 7 by now. Even though I have an outline, it's more of a calendar. But that was what I wanted to discuss, is that the problem with 8th Fleet was I made an outline that is basically a calendar because it spans 10 years of service for the Super Soldier Doc. But I never was able to expand that further because of the fact it's episodic. And the fact that it is episodic basically means that the tone is all over the place. Like, imagine if Star Trek had completely different writers for every episode. It would be absolute chaos. One episode would be like tongue-in-cheek, like the Orville. The other would be like a super serious, gritty slog, like TNG normally is. Well, not normally, but you know what I mean. Super serious. Like, we're all adults here, talking about serious things. I don't like that. Smaller. Yeah, that looks good. Alright, so there we go. The seal of the Triarchy. You could find this on official documentation in people's like heirlooms to this day. The Tech Nation never went back the fall of the Soviet Union, toppling over statues of Lenin and Stalin. People still like the Triarchy. There are Triarchal loyalists to this day because they don't like the inefficiency and the bureaucracy of the Tech Congress that was the Second Republic. And there's also the fact that immediately after the signing of the Treaty of Succession, where the Triarchy was peacefully deposed, negotiated deposition, but still deposed, they sort of wore the Triarchy like a skin suit for a long time. Is on Triarchal records, and they all have letterhead and stationery printed up. That's official documentation for the Triarchy. And what they would do is cross out actually, let me show you. Let me save this real quick because I like where we're going with this. Save as image. Triarchal. I could never figure out how to spell triarchal. It is a made-up word, but basically it means referring to or from the Triarchy. There's one spelling I keep. There's two spellings I keep mix and matching are at the end CLE or CAL. CAL looks too much. To my eye, looks wrong. CLE also looks kind of wrong, but less wrong. But anyway, Triarchal speech pose. Alright, there we go. Now, this balcony and podium is probably a good 20 feet off the ground. So there's the inner courtyard of the palace. But here, let me it's PC documents. Oh, there it is. I want to show. Oh, actually. Put those in there. Okay. Alright, I'm not worried about spoilers because you can't read the text. But this is Get Good, and you see I use templates. Because they're PNGs, I can just copy and paste. Here we go, this is what I... Okay. Nope, that's not it. You saw nothing. Here we go, this is it. Here we go. There it is, right there. And don't you look at that text now. Alright, so this is of course a modern Panjian battle cruiser. It's a 102. So it's only got 2 little diamond segments. When the modern Panjian ships are christened at the factory, or really just named, they have an alphanumerical rotating code. Usually, the first batch only had a singular letter, and then they would name it off of that singular letter. So if it was the letter M, it would be Man-O-War, for the old Man-O-War super battleships that the Trox used to use. Or if it were A, it would be like the Avetta or Avenger or something like that, based on the alphanumerical code. They're currently up to 3 rotating because there's so damn many ships. But when it came to PMV 102 KA, they called it the King Allen, referencing Gowan II, because Alan Voss Gowan II is his full name. Originally, his name was Voss McGowan II, but he got Culp to legally change his name when he was coronated, which is every citizen's right. Anyone in the Triarchy can legally change their name. You just got to, you got to tell old King Colky there. Just don't go around saying you're someone else, because that's identity fraud. Especially if you're signing documents. But, like I said, wearing the Triarchy like a skin suit, they would take official letterhead from the Triarchy, cross it out, and put TR for Tech Republic over these official Triarchal seals. And it looked illegitimate as hell, but that's what they used for the first couple of years, because there's so much backstock of letterhead from the Triarchy, from all the documentation. The Triarchy was one of the most well-documented ancient governments probably ever, because of the fact they knew it was important to document shit, and because of the public school of Ulysses, everyone could read and write. So, but the story behind the King Allen is hilarious, because first they call it the King Allen. The Congress did not like that, and they're like, we want to put a huge mural on the side of the starship. The starship, by the way, is 1.5 kilometers long. You see there, big ass ship. So it's actually technically bigger than the Enterprise D Galaxy class, because I think that one's a kilometer long, if I remember correctly, or just under a kilometer. Yeah, so imagine the Enterprise D, like, just overlaid with this. This would be way longer. Mine's longer. Anyway. Oh, but the Galaxy class is fatter. Again, I do this to amuse myself. Anyway. But they were like, absolutely not. You are not putting a huge fucking mural of Galwin II in his Zion-themed armor on your battle cruiser. You're not doing that. And they're like, okay, how about an inverted triangle? They're like, absolutely not. Okay, how about an inverted triangle crossed out with TR on it? And Congress was like, their oversight committee for that, for the naming of vessels, was like, okay, that's fine. That's historical. Not that, any of that else would be too. But as a fuck you, they put Galwin II's Zion beaked helm peeking over the triangle as if to say, hey, remember me? It's like, you literally named your ship after me, but you're not allowed to make a mural of me on said ship. It's great. Anyway. No, do not save. I just wanted to show you that real quick. Because I wanted to didn't want to cross this out to mimic the documentary style of the Second Republic. And like I said, there was an illegitimacy that the Congress, the Second Congress, had to overcome. Eventually, they now use just an inverted triangle with a TR in it. But for the longest time, okay. Character creation is one of the biggest writing blocks that I've experienced. Sorry, subject change. Or rather, we're circling back around. As you see, I have all these templates, and I use the extraction magic select tool to extract these. That was before I figured out I could just make a clear background. But in Get Good, there are 4 main characters. Eeper, Vic Eeper, is the main one. You see him on the cover there. I'm not gonna. I guess I could. But he's drawn in the Revenge of the Forsaken style, and of course he's being the stereotypical fat gamer. He's got actually like a little mouse there, but you can't really see it for his hands are so damn fat. But it's going to be in the 8-bit Code Monkey style. But I start out with the Revenge of the Forsaken hand-drawn style, to sort of like wean you into it. But basically, there we go. So we got Project Voodoo here, and it says graphic novel based in the shared 8th Fleet Journal universe. Coffee stain and all. Coffee stain is to let you know this is tongue-in-cheek. This is not serious. Although it is canon, and it does happen in 8th Fleet Journal. However, it's given a completely different slant on 8th Fleet Journal. It's way more grimdark. Project Voodoo is a project to psychically control active attack drones. Now, the Panjian military has gone through cycles of about 100 years ahead of us. They were really big on attack drones until they met the Drophy, who have really good computers and AI. Their computers and AI could crack the control language of the Panjian attack drones and disable them, hijack them, and even use them against their own people. So for a long time, military drones, although it originally was the peak of the Panjians and now ours in real life, ground warfare, the ability to send out a little kamikaze drone and just take out a bunch of dudes in a trench, or hold up in a building, or hell, even in a tank. And the drones themselves are cheap and plentiful and can be 3D printed. That was some cutting edge shit. The problem is that you have to actively control them. You can't really rely on them to target and take out the enemy on their own, because then that's how you get the Terminator. And the Panjians did not want kill drones making the decision to kill all on their own. So for a long time, drones were just relegated back to being targets, or cruise missiles or something a little less cutting edge. Until this random doctor who works for the Panjian security agency is like, hey, I've developed a way to translate electromagnetic impulses into psionic waves, thus basically making electronic telepathy. And we can use the telepathy to control the drone, because telepathy in my universe has no range and has no time dilation effects or any type of time delay from time traveled. Because psychic abilities work on higher dimensions, it doesn't matter that the drone is half a galaxy away. As long as you're psychically linked to it, you can control it. Real time, no delay. But who are you going to get to fly these drones? Well, because they're a psychically linked device, there might be psychosomatic injuries if you crash it or get blown up. So they didn't want to fry the brains of their good fighter pilots, and most fighter pilots are probably smart enough not to volunteer for that any fucking way. They're like, hey, what if we find some pro gamers who are like into flight combat simulators, offer them a shit ton of money as a sign-up bonus, downplay the potential side effects and harmful effects that might come from this thing fucking up while their brain's attached to it, and use them as a new batch of fighter drone pilots, and then if it's successful, we flip them around. Forgive me. And use them as a propaganda tool to recruit other fat chud gamers to become drone pilots. And then we can slowly phase out traditional starfighter pilots and save money and reduce casualties all in the same go. So this project proposal from this doctor, who then gets renamed, his secret code name is Dr. Voodoo, because PSA scientists are referred to by what they're working on, and with the prefix of doctor, so you know that they're a squint. They're not an agent. He proposes to the higher ups, let's make this a communication thing. Let's use this electronic telepathy translation box, the voodoo box as it's usually known, to psychically control shit. And it could be anything. It could be cars, it could be humanoid attack drones, if you want to go boots on ground. It could be starfighters, it could be anything. Anything that you don't want to risk a pilot's physically dying, you could attach a voodoo box to it and psychically control it from a distance away. Now, some of you have probably already speculated as to what the downside of this is. Well, you're psychically attached to a drone. So, I'm going to give you this one spoiler. Having bad things happen to your drone translates to your body through psychosomatic response. That's all I'm going to give you. You just play on that all you want. But, character creation, again, circling back to it, I think a lot of people have the cart before the horse. Think about a character-driven sitcom like Seinfeld. For those of you who remember Seinfeld, I used to love watching it. I still think it's one of the best sitcom concepts, because it was literally pitched as a show about nothing. When that's not true, what it is a situational comedy show, sitcom, where the characters are already preformed as though they're real people. And then a premise or a problem is thrown at them and they react to it. In a way, it's almost like a sort of meta form of improv, in which you're improving not as yourself, the comedian, but as this character. That's why these characters like Elaine, George, Kramer, Seinfeld, Newman, they all feel so real is because they're played as though they're real people in this universe. Seinfeld, of course, had his insert character, which is Jerry Seinfeld. But you can tell it's not even really supposed to be him. It's more like a meta insert of him. The same way that, like, Gowan the Great or Gowan the Second or Okadakata Doc is an insert character of me, but more distant in their presentation, because they each represent like a different aspect of me. They're not a direct like insert like Seinfeld was. But the reason that we all love those characters so much is because how deep they were. They felt like real people you could meet in real life. Embarrassing though they may be. When it comes to writer's block, circling back to that now, and character creation, that's the one thing I think I got really, really good at. But it was just what to throw at them to get them to react for entertainment purposes. And I thought that with 8th Fleet, like, I got the tone of that right, but obviously I failed miserably on that, because it does bipolar like shift from grimdark to ridiculous, whereas Get Good has just chosen the own switch to be own, and it's just going to be ridiculous. It's going to have some existential dread, some dark aspects, but it's going to be more made fun of, not necessarily, or made light of, than like just dwelling on it. But with character creation, I want to introduce you to my favorite character from Get Good. I think he's going to be one of your favorite characters too. I'm not so hot on the others. Cammy and Lyo are basically the weakest link, but for variety's sake, I wanted to insert them. So the titular characters, you got Eeper, you saw him there. And you got Tiggs. Now, when creating a character, now some of these have similar looking characters in them. For instance, that is not Tiggs, that is his father, who is a corporate asteroid miner, which is why he's wearing the suit and the helmet and the safety peepers. This is the Doc character in 8-bit form. As you can see, yes, he does look like me, wearing tall Converse, military pants, military shirt, buckle. His beard is not a full beard, though. It's more of a goatee. It's the evil goatee. See if we can get closer, get some detail on there. There we go. There's Tiggs. Now you can see he's about 6'1", 6 foot tall, 6'2". He is Drawfee. This is important. When creating a character, the first question you need to ask is, what are they? Because in real life, what you are can heavily impact how you view the world and how you interact with it. When you have a Panjian character in a certain situation, they're not going to act necessarily the same way as, say, a Drawfee character would, or a human character would. Because they're all programmed by their evolution and their personal backgrounds differently. But what's interesting about Tiggs is he's a hybrid character. He is a Drawfee male who was raised mostly by a babysitter who is Eeper's mom, Vim. Now, who and what is Vim? Vim is a tech Panjian female. She is a traditional tech, even though she was raised in Baylorment, which means that she's very stoic. Think like samurai culture. Very stoic, very matter-of-fact, very honor-driven. Almost to the point of seemingly stern, but not as stern as you would imagine. In Drawfee culture, Drawfee parenting tends to be hit or miss. Their women give birth to a litter just like house cats. So the value they place on the individual children is not as great as just sort of like just ensuring a blanket survival for all of them. And we're going to touch back on that later. We're going to meet his parents in a single panel. And you're going to understand in that single panel how he feels about his parents and how they feel about him. And that's the only spoilers I'm going to show you of panels from Get Good until it's done. You're not going to see it till it's done. Not all of it anyway. Now here, of course, I have him in various uniforms. But this one, when you first meet him, this is the Tiggs you need to understand. First of all, his first name is Dorn, but it's short for Dornica. Dornica in Drawfee means a masked person or a concealed person, a hidden person, someone who is obscuring their face. It usually has connotations with, say, like bandits, highwaymen, criminals, or maybe spies or assassins. Now, the reason he is called Dornica is because when his mother gave birth to the litter, they thought that at first he was afterbirth, until he started moving and crying, and then they picked the placenta off of him, and then, oh, there he is. So he was obscured by the afterbirth. Now, fast forward. There aren't a lot of Drawfee who live in Baylorment. There's a handful, but not a lot. Not as much as Uptown, where the Drawfee place a colony called Triniceric. Unbeknownst to the Panjians, because they popped it up so quickly overnight, they didn't even realize. Imagine waking up and there is a colony of like 5,000 aliens that have already set up like a little fortress out just outside of a town the size of, say, New York. Yeah, everyone was shocked by that. Basically, the fleet that drops colonies of debtors, indentured servants, doesn't talk to the fleet that extinguishes and purges planets of their natural inhabitants. So the Drawfee tried to colonize Hesaya unsuccessfully. The Panjians completely kicked their ass. And then later, another ship came by in the middle of the night and dropped off this prefab colony unit, and they got to work. And at sunrise, everyone's saying, "Hey, there's a big structure like in this field just outside of town, and a bunch of damn those furry bastards who tried to conquer us like a few months ago are like all over it." They were basically immediately surrounded, forced to surrender, and they're like, "Look, we didn't want to come here. We're mostly debtors. There are a few Marines that are like overseeing us, but like we don't want to be here either. But we can't go back home." So the Panjians are like, "Okay, you get to stay only if the Hezaians say it's okay. Just same deal they gave us. As long as the Hezaians say you can stay, you can stay." So they go to the current king of the Hezaians. His name is Chilean. And they explain the situation, and Chilean's kind of based, and he's like, "Okay, totally understand. Just like the text before you, shit happens. However, you're going to adhere to the same rules as the text. You can live here as long as you don't destroy the environment, and you don't hurt us in any way, shape, or form. And you must protect us from people such as yourselves, people from the sky. Other than that, As long as you get along with the techs, you're fine. So there is now an independent Drophy colony in northern Ulysses, and originally that's the only Drophy that were in Ulysses. Over time, when warring with the Drophy Imperium, there would be defectors, or runaway slaves, or runaway debtors, because they found out that, hey, the Panjians don't keep slaves or debtors. If I run to them and request asylum, or rather abolition, they'll let me stay. You know, they're going to watch me for a bit to make sure I'm not a spy, but they'll leave me be, and I'll be debt free for once, and no longer a slave. So that caused a sort of mad rush across the DMZ of a bunch of poor Drophy literally trying to just invade the Panjian Alliance for economic reasons and for abolition reasons. So they had to put a cap on that. Each individual Alliance member world can set the number of defectors and displaced Drophy that they were willing to take in. The Tech Nation is like, we are only going to take debtors and slaves. If you are not a debtor and slave, and we cannot find proof that you were ever indentured or enslaved, we're going to deny your application for abolition and asylum. Because there were a lot of poor Drophy, like I said, who were free men who were just coming for economic reasons. Again, sounds topical. I don't know what you're talking about, because I wrote this years ago. Now, Tiggs' parents, you saw his dad down there earlier. His dad was a debtor, and his mom was a slave. And they met each other on Hazaya after they were both liberated. And they decided to move to Baylorment because, one, it's cheaper down there, and it's also closer to the corporate headquarters where Tiggs' dad, Dan, has a job. And the corpos, the corporations, they have their own spaceships. So they have a little landing dock down there on the south side, just for their ships. So rather than go through Humble Spaceport, which basically where the Humble crash landed is now a massive spaceport and tarmac. Well, not the original site. The original site's preserved. It's a historical monument, but they moved it inward, basically past the Hazayan forest. Literally dug up the trees, these massive old trees, moved them aside for the Humble to come through on a massive articulated tractor, and then replanted the trees behind them. The whole process took a year, but they eventually got the Humble to the open field just north of the School of Ulysses, and that's where the tarmac is. Sorry, I almost retconned something there by accident. Anyway, so again, what is Tiggs? He is a Drophy male. He is the child of an enslaved mother and an indentured servant father who escaped Drophy Imperium tyranny. So, what do you think his dinners with his family were like most nights? It is a bunch of Imperium hate. Absolute hate for his own people, essentially. And add to that the addition of being raised essentially tech by Vim, who is she? A female traditional tech, Panjian. What you get is a hybrid character. He is Drophy, but he acts, thinks, and presents himself as though he's tech. And he really, really does not like people not recognizing that he is not tech. Or recognizing that he is not tech, sure. Double negative. So, How does he present himself? Well, it's not purely black because you never use pure black in any type of graphic novel. It's only for outlines and shading. But so when I use this really deep charcoal, that's analogous to black. So he's wearing all black. Black jeans, black shoes, and he's wearing a t-shirt. And this t-shirt, it's kind of low res, but if you look closely, excuse me. Where is it? Here we go. House of Cockerel. He is wearing the emblem of the fearsome House of Cockerel. Gore Cockerel. This dude. The guy who adopted Cora Henchild I. Where did he get said t-shirt with the House of the fearsome House of Cockerel on it? Which, by the way, Cockerel, if you notice, it is a spurred Hessian talon. That is a male Hessian. Only male Hessians have spurs. He got it at the gift shop of the Assassin's Guild, where modern Ranger Enforcers have their offices and departments. And that's also where the current Fearsome Majesty, the Fearsome Majesty Volo Okami, because of course it's a fucking Okami, resides. That's where his offices are. So, what is he saying here? He's saying, with this t-shirt, do not look at me as a cat. I am not a space furry. I am not your enemy. I have no ties to the Imperium culturally. I am tech, sir. That's what he's presenting to you. That with that infamous crest, he's saying, not only am I tech, it's like I am like hardcore tech. Like, I will hunt outlaws and bring back their severed head. I have no problem with that. And it is an interesting juxtaposition that I always try to make the darkest characters seem the most ridiculous by making them arguably the cutest. But here is an excellent example of being tech is not about being a right. Doc is tech. Although he'll be the first to point out his grandmother was Phasian. So he's not even pure tech regardless. He's technically mixed race. Being tech is not about wearing black. It's not about having black feathers on your head. It's not about even being fucking Panjian. It is an ideology. It's a very old ideology. One that is meritocratical. One that is honor-driven. One that is based on respect, one that upholds laws after they're made and doesn't nitpick about which ones they're willing to enforce. It's about being courageous, being honorable, being honest. It's about going down with the ship, literally and figuratively. Being tech is about putting one's duty before the self. Now, if this sounds very much like a military doctrine, you are absolutely correct, because tech society is a martial society. Whether you realize it or not, if you grow up as a tech, you are being indoctrinated for military life. Tech parents will run inspections on their children's bedrooms, make sure that their shit's neat and squared away, make sure that their bunk is squared away, make sure that everything is clean and where it belongs. They do not put up with disobedient, messy children. That will be disciplined out of you over time. And if not, well, as to quote Eper when asked, are there any techs who are biologically tech but don't follow the rules of techdom. In other words, they're not ideologically tech. And Ypres like, oh, of course there are techs who are biologically tech. They're Panjians with black feathers who aren't following the ways of tech society or culture. We call them criminals. And now you understand Tiggs. Tiggs hates the Drawfee Imperium. He kind of barely tolerates other Drawfee. The first time in the military when another Drawfee pilot came up to spoke to him in Drawfee, he literally said, "I don't speak enemy." And that wasn't a joke. He literally does not speak Drawfee because there's no reason to. Everyone in his household speaks Panjian. All of his friends speak Panjian. There is no reason for him to have ever learned the Drawfee language. He has been fully indoctrinated by the techs. As they would say, as the Trox would say back in the day, he has been darkened. Because back in the day, when they had children who would go work in Ulysses for the money and then come back home, across the woods, and this is even more recently, this is be like in 20th century level technology, like just from their perspective, but like 100 years ago. The more they work and interact with techs, the less Trock they became, and the more tech they became. They would darken up. They become less tolerant of bullshit Trock things like getting drunk and not doing your job, or shirking responsibility, or playing the blame game. So, what else is Tiggs? What makes Tiggs tick? Well, obviously you got the base level of being raised tech, hardcore tech. Tiggs is a very curious person. He's the type of person who would just sort of wander off just to see what's over the next hill. That sometimes gets his ass in trouble. Curiosity did kill the cat, after all. Pun intended. But what else is a driver for him? Well, his parents, in spite of the fact that they owe the Imperium nothing, are still quite religious. What is the Drawfee religion? Oh boy. So when coming up with the Drawfee religion, I wanted something, again, similar but different. In this context, what that means is... Hold on. I hate to give a dramatic cliffhanger like that, but I gotta go to the bathroom. And I can't really stop the recording, otherwise it will be 2 segments. So I'm just gonna mute the mic and AFK for just a minute. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. I decided to get some more beers from the fridge as well. The Drawfee religion, when I came up with it, again, similar but different. Remember, that is a thing in my universe. Or the blender analogy of throw a bunch of random crap in a blender and see what comes out. So, I did a little religious dive. I was trying to find some of the worst aspects of religion in human history. And the various, like, Hittite and Assyrian and Philistine religions worshipping, like, Moloch and Baal and shit like that, where they would sacrifice children and shit to these idols. I was like, okay, that's good. That's a good start. A little too Old Testament. We need to give it some flavor. Okay, what if we had, like, Mayan-style sacrifices and Aztec-style sacrifices on top of, like, a huge pyramid? And I'm like, it's already been done. But I'm like, wait a minute. What if we throw in some Inquisition-era, Dark Age Catholic Church with some politicking and conspiracy and just general corruption? And I'm like, okay, I like where this is going. So, we need to find a god for them to worship. And it's got to be something really fucked up. Or at least something that would differentiate it from, like, almost any earthen god. So I was studying, like, Loki and how he would constantly, like, put one over on the other Norse gods. Now I thought to myself, what if they originally had, like, old gods, like a pantheon of gods, similar to, like, Panjian occultism, where they have literally a rainbow of chaos gods, each one represented by a color, each one with its own distinct purview and inclination and personality even. But you got one of them who is just a little bit smarter than the rest. So, let's say you had a god of time and fate, sort of like Kronos. You had a god of, like, love and fertility. You know, generic boilerplate fucking pagan pantheon style gods. But one of them is the god of death, Kavalik. What is Kavalik? Kavalik is technically a evil spirit. He is literally the Grim Reaper. He is Drawfee Death. Oh, sounds like we ran out of... hate that. Well, actually, that could segue over... Oh no, he's still going. How long we got? Pretty much one more song. Okay, I'm going to set this up. Now, for those of you who hate AI, you're probably not going to like this. But I have a Suno account that I've been keeping under wraps, where I have written the lyrics. These are my writings. But just like I can't write a novel for shit, I can't play an instrument for shit. When I sing, it sounds, the best way I could describe it is somewhere between Tim Curry and Johnny Cash, but really flat and off-tone. I've karaoke Johnny Cash on a case, Folsom's Prison Blues, and it was passable. As passable as any other, you know, tourist who comes to Nashville. But of course, my Suno account is Alan Doc 85, you can see here. But it has spoilers. And the spoilers come from songs that I did for Get Good. And there is one segment where they are singing at karaoke. Right, where is... There we go. Profile. Here we go. Some of them, as you can see, are just a lark. Like, I ate ass and died of dysentery on the Oregon Trail. Classic. Gotta get that government cheddar. Hip-hop song about stealing the government cheese in the cheese caverns. Here we go. But, Kvalik, before I run out of time, is the god of death. And he made a wager with the other gods. He said, bring a mortal up to our realm and ask him who he fears more, whose wrath he fears more. He said, because from fear comes respect. Therefore, if they do not fear you, they do not respect you as a god. Which, that's already kind of broken logic anyway, but let's go with it. So, they bring up a mortal, and each god basically tries to intimidate this mortal and saying, no, I fear you the most, my lord. But we all know that the existential dread of death. And Kvalik knew he was going to win this. And of course, the wager is he gets to rule as king of the gods for 10 eons, so about 1,000,000 years. Which to a god may as well be 10 minutes. And they each give it their go, and he says, oh, I fear you, I fear you, I fear you, but death, I fear death the most. And the other gods were like, well, damn. So they gave Kvalik the golden crown and gave him the throne, and he has been in charge ever since. Now, why is this a problem? The problem is because Kvalik rules through fear. He does not rule out of sympathy or love or tolerance like, say, Christ. He's not a teacher or an enlightened one like Buddha. Nor is he like trying to guide you to a way of life that is like proper and good. Basically, with Kvalik, it is rule by fear. And this trickles down throughout all of Drawfee society. These cats are running scared. Like, they are terrified of everything. More even so than, like, Big Brother. It's like, they have a really hard time just being okay. A lot of Drawfee suffer from really bad anxiety. Especially if they're from the Imperium, and especially if they're from Imperium worlds where the technology there is sufficient that they could just watch you constantly. Yeah, sort of like just like in the Soviet era in Russia, it's like, don't say the wrong thing to the wrong person, or you will disappear, comrade. Now, Kvalik is represented as a Drawfee male with long braided mane and beard, mouth open as if speaking, 4 arms. He has 4 arms like Kali. Sort of a hint to sort of a wink and a nod to Hindu gods, but nowhere near as nice or based. In each one of his hands, he holds a symbol of the different types of death. One, he holds a grupali, which it means secondary weapon, but it is a type of machete-style sword, similar. God, God, what is this? The Kopesh, the Egyptian sword that had the extreme curved end on it, similar to that. This is like, oh shit. I guess I could draw one real quick. Hold on. Zoom out so we get some more space. All right, so it's obviously got an extreme curve. It's got like sort of a gutting hook there, a heavy head, strong bevel. Ancient ones, this part, the blade would have been also sharpened, and it usually has some sort of knuckle guard, like a messer, like that. Modern ones are actually made out of polymer with a ceramic blade sandwiched in there. And yes, that is terrible for melee combat because that ceramic blade does and will break. So you pretty much just end up beating the enemy to death with like a plastic club. But the modern Drawfee Imperium is cheap as shit and doesn't trust people with weapons. So there we go. Some higher ranking like noblemen who are in the military, like Lord Admirals and shit, they'll have an old school steel one that's actually folded steel and nice. But those are usually picked up as war trophies after Panjians kill them. So you'll find those in tech households as a war trophy. That sword, of course, represents death by murder or being killed by another. So that's one form of death. The other hand, again, it sort of held up shoulder's length, almost to say, stop, don't shoot. That sort of arm position, is holding up a sort of tiger bear animal. I forget the name I gave it, but it's an apex predator. Draquin, a Draquin. Think like a cross between like a grizzly bear and a mountain lion. And it was their biggest apex predator until they became technologically advanced enough to like subdue them. Now you only really see them in zoos. They don't exist like naturally in the wild anymore because they're just too damn dangerous. That represents death by natural means. On his lower arms, the right arm is set palm up on top of the folded legs, sitting Indian style. And there is a little box that's locked. And that scares people the most. But I want to skip over that to the other hand because it's the most dramatic and what people notice first about this god idol of Kavalik is a sword or a dagger stuck in his own ribs with his lower left hand. And people are like, is he killing himself? Like, no, that represents death, self-death. It represents suicide. Death by your own hand. Or death made by your own making. But going back to the other hand, lower hand, that little lockbox, that is death by unknown means. Those are the four forms of death. That little lockbox scares the shit out of Drawfee. Because it could be anything. It's like the mystery box. How did this guy die? I don't know. He didn't stab himself. He wasn't mauled to death by a Draquin. And no one stabbed him. He just died. Some religious Drawfee scholars also suggest that it represents a form of punishment afterlife, sort of like Davy Jones' locker. But Kavalik is the current deity that the majority of Drawfee recognize and worship. Now, I mentioned in the previous stream that an Eeper, who, by the way, his surname is also Eeper, so yes, he is a relative of our titular Eeper and Get Good, distantly, who was sent to ancient Drawfee with one of the little ships the scientists made based on the Humble, to be an unwilling first contact. Unwilling for both ends, because Eeper didn't want to go either. He's kind of forced to. They saw the symbol above his door that goes into his little ship, and they said they asked him what that means, and like the translation matrix that he had wasn't that good, and he said Xenos. It means to enter or leave. So they thought that this alien who came to him in this little sky ship is called Xanos, Zanaz, spelled the same backwards as forwards. Fast forward, there is a cult of Xanos. They're sort of like Satan worshippers from the Drawfee perspective, because Xanos said really base shit like the church is just murdering people. You don't have to sacrifice people to Kavalik. Like, if you stop doing that, I guarantee you nothing bad's going to happen. Of course, that's heresy. So, one of the many reasons why the crowd turned on him. He also said that the Emperor is just a man. Like, he bleeds, shits, and pisses like everyone else. It's like, yes, you don't have to put up with his decrees if they are unlawful or just straight up going to destroy you. Again, that's insurrection. So between insurrection and blasphemy, this Xanos asshole had to go. But there are Drawfee who secretly worship Xanos and are anti-imperialist and anti-a Church of Kavalik. Tiggs and his family are heretics. They believe another version of the story that doesn't involve Eeper or sky demons or any of that shit. They believe that there was a little town that was a pilgrimage site because it had a massive temple dedicated to Kavalik, where a strange man came and claimed to be Kavalik incarnate, an avatar, a sort of Christ-like figure. I come to you in the form of a man, and he climbed to the forbidden fourth step of the pyramid that they would sacrifice people at the top of. Think more like a Mayan pyramid or a ziggurat. And of course, if you go beyond the fourth step, that's forbidden. You're not supposed to ascend those stairs. Only the priest can do that. Because you're not holy enough, you see. And he gave a speech to the crowd there before that was a crowd that had gathered before the dawn execution / sacrifice of a heretic, and basically started the same English.exe has failed. They said the same shit that this space demon Xanos had said, literally like at the same time on the other side of the planet. And that furthermore, he added that slavery is a sin and that should be stopped immediately. Basically, he came down to correct the church in person because his church had become so evil and corrupt and so in bed with the corrupt imperial monarchy that God himself came down to literally just say, hey, stop that. So he was summarily executed / sacrificed, ironically to himself, thus named the ironic sacrifice. If you say the words ironic sacrifice to mainstream religious Drawfee, they're going to freak the fuck out and run away because it's a cognito hazard. If you know about the ironic sacrifice or even ask what it is, you're going to get purged. Because after this event happened, well, let's just play the song. I'm really proud of this one. Suno 4.5 is really, really good. And you can see from the play count, half of those plays are mine. And
hold on, let me chug this beer real quick.
It generates a crowd. It generates a crowd of people. It's so fucking awesome. I wish I could make this bigger. Can I make this bigger? Yeah. Oh. It won't go all the way. So this in universe is a karaoke song in front of a bunch of drunk Marines. It's the stadium sound of crowd size is probably just its interpretation. Of course, crowd boos, crowd cheers, and all sort of sound similar. But here's the thing: styles. We look at arena metal, live audience, high-pitched, powerful male singer, in the style of Wasp. I specifically asked in the style of Wasp because I wanted that gritty, like hair metal, 80s metal, classic sound. And in universe, Heretic by The Unfortunates. The Unfortunates is a drophy metal band that formed on Hosea, and they're pretty popular. Most people know about them. But this is the Tiggs remix because he's remixing it so he can, sing it in public because it is a copyrighted song. Let's just start here.
All right. You want to hear about my religion, Marines? Well, so fucking bad! In a city we aren't supposed to remember, happened a miracle. We are supposed to believe.
It's so good.
The church long respected became corrupted and cruel. They sacrificed our dearest blood while they grew fat. We ate foul gruel. They acted as an apologist for the tyranny of imperial rule. Then one day a man came to the Temple Mount. He climbed to the forbidden four-step and spoke to the crowd. He said he was the Lord God incarnate and that the church was neither fit to preach nor rule. The church is corrupted.
That crowd participation.
Speak my word. No man is under.
Although that's a continuity error because there's no way the Marines would know what the hell the song is coming next. I guess they would have probably heard the original version.
Words, do not let them die in this crowd. Thus go forth and say them with courage. A place by my throne will you earn. You only have but to stay true to my words. The emperor rules by machinations and capitulations, not by the consent of his captured nation.
Say that 3 times fast.
I was not present at his coronation, but I will be present for his judgment and damnation. Then the blasphemous orator was captured by the temple guard and whisked away to the inner sanctum. Atop the pyramid as the crowd looked on in apathy and defeat. They had to silence this man, but he wasn't a man nor a god, something in between. They tried to sacrifice him by cutting out his heart, but they could not so easily cut his meat.
Gonna admit I wrote myself in a corner on that one.
A sudden freak, thunderstorm, pause the ceremony. To the inner sanctum, they were forced to retreat. They managed to behead him somehow, but his head still spoke quiet chants, and his body glowed day and priests all ate like pigs, but soon withered as if starved to death. The crops all rotted in the fields. Soon those who were loyal to the lie would also die. But those who saw the Lord and heard his words did not die. They were spared so long as they spoke the truth of what happened. The Lord Kivalik came down to us as a man to correct our
So, again, Christ-like, but Kavalik is not Christ. He's more akin to, like, Kali. You know, Temple of Doom Kali.
Here's the remix. This is a true story. I would never mislead you, brother. If I lie to you about what happened, I too will suffer and die. It's no
Alright. I know I'm going to come off like a South Park character loving the smell of his own farts, but I'm really proud of that one. Not only is Suno 4.5 fucking amazing at, like, taking the hint, or, you know, fulfilling the prompt, the fact that it can generate a live crowd that interacts with the fucking singer like that is amazing. And like I said, I have no musical talent. Unfortunately, Daddy took all that with him to the grave. He was a virtuoso. Like, he literally taught himself multiple instruments by buying a used one at a thrift store and just, like, fucking around with it until he could play it proficiently. Shortly before he died of a heart attack, he was talking about maybe getting a drum set used and trying to learn to play the drums. Because that's the only damn instrument he didn't know how to fucking play. But like I said, I can write short form pretty damn good. Like, that was like Man of War, like epic shit right there. And I'm not going to hear anything else. Like I said, I get that you may not like metal. I get that you just may not like my universe in general. But you have to fucking admit, that was a fucking gold nugget that Suno just shit out. That was amazing. Not only did it correctly do the prompts, it actually articulated all. The problem I've been having with Suno is that it will not say certain sentences because it's more melodically in tune with the song and the accompaniment. And I'm like, no, I don't care if you have to skip a beat. I need you to say this because it's telling a story. Now, this one was just for funsies. This is the opening song that Doc did before. He's trying to give time for Eeper's anthem because Eeper didn't know what to sing. And so he decided to sing something that he had been, you know, working on as a side project. And he can't actually play the guitar or the Panjian equivalent. But this one came out sounding like a WWE intro for a wrestler, which is so Doc. That's such a super soldier thing. It's just over the top. Say, look at me. Here we go.
Give me a beat. Yeah. I like it. Open the front door, give me a beer and get your fat nose out of your phone. Dog Daddy's home.
Now, in the comic panel, there's a QR code that links directly to these songs. That's how that works.
You can't handle the drip, babe, son. Now chug that beer, it's time for some real fun. Don't touch my fucking thermostat. If I'm cold, I'll turn off the sun. Yeah. Dog Daddy's home. It's no time to play. Daddy's been walking his new dog's voodoo squad. They fed the pirate ship, buccaneers some laser hands. Now show some respect to new warriors, fucking applaud. Dark Daddy's home. I rule this land with a high energy plasma pimp and serving up hot instant death. Just had one dumbass. What's that, Marine? Sounded an awful lot like Sass. No. Well, alright, Dark Daddy, we'll give you a pass. Ooh. Yeah. I'll force choke you until you learn to like it. And he ain't got shit on me. He's a psychic, cyborg, hitman with a cool-ass suit and voice box, and all he does is cry and bitch about it. When your enemy has the high ground, you stab him in the balls. Don't flip over his ass like you're trying out for the Special Olympics. I can't be the only one who knows that. Is it just me? Ooh, yeah. Dark Daddy's home. Now come here and get smooches from Dark Daddy. That was not a request!
Again, this is you see the humor get good. First of all, the Doc character has always been a satirical asshole, so it fits in perfectly in universe with 8 Fleet. The fact that it sounds like a WWE intro for a wrestler is just chef's kiss. Fucking great. Like I said, Pseudo 4.5 understands the assignment. And obviously this song is just tongue-in-cheek, but when he throws reference and shade to Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader, he does that because he gets unfavorably compared to Darth Vader all the time, being a genetically engineered sorcerer, super soldier, and the guy who's constantly sent out to make an example out of people. Like, yeah, yeah. And he kind of hates it. It's like, he doesn't hate Star Wars. It's just, if you're compared to like a fictional character constantly, you kind of start developing like a negative attitude towards them. You know what I mean? He's also of the Edna Node opinion that capes are dumb and a liability. Alright. I really don't want to play Eeper's Anthem. I want to leave you something. But, Eeper's Anthem is... God, it is so good, fucking good, though. The AI imagery that it comes up with to go along with the song. Sometimes it's like this one, like, really spot on. Others, it's like, I don't know what to put here, so I'm, acid trip, go. Yeah. So, the first one I did that was based on Revenge of the Forsaken. In Revenge of the Forsaken, her fearsome Magistry Okami is in town in Tetrick, which is the Trox capital city-state, doing official work with the sheriff there, because they do, like, try to coordinate to catch Troc outlaws. It's just the Commonwealth is so big and so decentralized, unlike the Tech Nation, where it's very much a city and a central government, that it's just difficult to hunt these fuckers down. Even when you have the Troc Sheriff try, because if the Troc Sheriff catches you, he'll turn you over to the Tech courts alive, and you'll still get it. And the agreement is, if the Trocs bring you in good faith, then the courts will honor that by giving you a second trial, even though you don't fucking deserve it because you skipped out on your first one. You piece of shit. Anyways, I don't know why I'm angry at this hypothetical person, but I really am. Because that's how it works. In the tech court system, you're released on your own recognizance, or you have someone vouch for you who is a tech citizen. And when you vouch for someone, you may get thrown in jail instead of them, or until such time as they get hunted down or made an example of, because you vouched for them. And so, yeah, vouching for someone in tech culture means something. You could face penalties if this guy runs. There is no cash bail in the tech nation. Never has been. Because what you're saying with cash bail is if you're rich enough, you don't have to suffer the indignity of being put up in a jail cell. So you have two options. You can agree on your life and honor to return on your court date. If you're a flight risk, you need to have someone vouch for you. Otherwise, you're going into the dungeon until your court date, and that could be a couple of weeks from now. Sorry. It's like, those are your options. Have someone trustworthy vouch for you to be released. Have brain just farted there. Sorry. Get thrown in jail until your court date, or you can just simply agree on your life and honor to return on your court date. Now, notice I said on your life and honor. You're agreeing to be hunted down and killed should you not return. So you agree to that. There are witnesses. There's a magistrate there. Vola Akami is, at that time, she would be the one you're swearing that to. So you're swearing to a magistrate you're going to return, or you can legally kill me. So it isn't like it's a big surprise when Ranger enforcers show up for your fucking head. Like, they know. They damn well know. But this was the first song that I did on Suno, and it was back with Suno version 3. So it's only 2 minutes long, but that's okay. It's a bard song called Hey John. And it's from the perspective of a friend who's an outlaw, or a friend who had outlawed himself. And even though the singer is a Troc, implied by the fact it is a Troc song written by a Troc literal bard at that time, street performer, or minstrel, I should say. Her fearsome majesty Okami was in town and overheard the street performer singing this song, and it name drops a lot of heavy hitters: Fearsome Cockerel, Veto, Magistrate Blackfeather, Magistrate Okami, and she's threw the guy a silver into his hat and said, "Play the song again from the beginning," because she caught it midway through. And as she's standing there, she's elated at this dark-ass song about his friend being made an example of. And she's like, "Are you available for private shows?" And the guy's like, "A street performer." It's like, "Yeah." Like, "Where?" It's like, "Come to Enforcer Manor, 420 Westwoods Way, at this date and time. I want you to give a private performance for everyone you just mentioned in your song. I am her fearsome majesty Okami. As you know, my ward, fearsome, is the most feared Cockerel, and his partner, Veto. And I will make sure my good friend, Magistrate Blackfeather, shows up as well. And we're going to have a good time. It's going to be great. It will pay you handsomely, feed you well, and it'll be a nice private concert for us." And of course, he's like intrigued / terrified. So he's like, "Sure." So, but here's the thing: she set this up, but didn't inform Cockerel, and Cockerel fucking hates entertaining guests, which you're technically doing that when you have a private concert. So, like, if you pay a celebrity for an appearance, you still gotta like entertain them and shit. They are technically the entertainment, but also you gotta like take care of them too. He fucking hates that shit. Also, it's just the general annoyance of I never agreed to this. Um, but Vola insists upon it, and he begrudgingly sits down and he start playing this song, and they're like, "Wow, this is really good." Forgive me. And so that's coming up in the next Revenge of the Forsaken. I've already got the outline for that. But this is the song that he sings.
I hear they've been looking for you. They ain't forgetting that man you ran through. I stood there next to you as you swore to Blackfeather. She let you grip leather and let us leave together. I remember as it was bad weather. Then you thought yourself free and dismissed your vow. You went past the 30 days the text allowed. The death warrant's been signed, a fair trial you declined. You asked for the benefit of the doubt, then drew out to trick the text a little to you did fly. Hey John, Cockle and Vettel just darkened my door. They kicked me ass and threw me to the floor. They said if I don't get you to turn yourself in to expect more. Hey John, John, are you still here? I see now, John's head is no longer here. Came true, didn't you fear? Why didn't you listen? Why didn't you take heed? Now your head is bagged and tied to Cockle's steed. Magistrate O'Kelly at least got to look at you one last time. All Mama got to see was a close box of pine. Oh John, oh John, oh John, why couldn't you just done the time? I swear everything would have been fine. Goodbye, John. I swear everything would have been fine. Goodbye, John. I couldn't you just done the time?
Alright, this is more like Irish Rovers. I included it because it did turn out good, but it wasn't what I was looking for. That sad little mellow I love that. That's fucking great. I didn't prompt it to do that, it just did that. Now, as for the spelling here, Troc accents have a plethora of spectra, but upper class Trocs, tetric tallies is what they're called, because a tally is a person who does your books for you. So basically, they sit on their ass and they get a percentage because they handle all of your paperwork. In other words, they don't work for a living, and they're rich, so they're posh. They kind of sound British or like proper English, very slight English accent. The more southeastern Trocs, which are the ones that usually go into Ulysses and start trouble and then outlaw themselves, they sound more like Cockney or Irish. So that's what I was trying to emulate with the way it was written. And I remember I was having lunch at a local country buffet called Emma's. And it's a little mom and pop place, but it's basically like an all-you-can-eat buffet, like Chinese style, but it's Southern cooking. Fucking delicious. But I was literally on my phone just, writing this and trying to imagine like a story, like bard song type of song, with like just a singer and like a guitar accompaniment. Which obviously Suno put a little more in there, but it turned out great. And I remember just saying the lyrics to my family and a close friend of mine, and they're like, "That's sad, but it's kind of haunting." Like it's like just as a poem, not even as a song, it was still intriguing as shit. That was Suno 3 that I did that with, so it's limited to 2 minutes. And as you can hear, there's much more AI tells, is what I would call it. You can tell it's not a person singing. Whereas you just heard 4.5, which sounds way better. Now, I have, of course, a lot more songs here. Some of these they're all based in my universe. Every single one of them. Uh, some of them are not universe, like obviously I ate ass and died of dysentery on the Oregon Trail. That is just for fun. It's not it's not meant to be a serious song. Although they chose a very haunting image for that. It bases the image it prompts, I think, off of song lyrics. So that's why, there's a pyramid with like lightning and glowing, because it picks up on things in the lyrics to generate an AI image for your song, to have a thumbnail. Now, with Dark Daddy, I use the PNG of Doc in a formal naval uniform, the taco hat, bell bottoms, because it's linked to 8th Fleet. Not 8th Fleet, but Get Good. And sorry, I'm gonna have to AFK and go to the bathroom again. That beer runs right through you. All right, I'm back. Um, the Wizard Boo series. The Wizard Boo, he is a modern character. He's not from the ancient past. Um, but he is, for lack of better terminology, the Mr. Rogers of the psychic community in my book series. He's Drawfee. Um, somewhere, I think I have a thumbnail of him where I drew in my style. Oh, did I not upload it? I didn't change it out. But basically, young psychics go through a lot of additional bullshit through puberty. Not only are they dealing with puberty, they're dealing with the emergence of their psychic abilities, which usually around, say, age 10 to 13 is becoming active. So you start seeing and hearing things, which is sometimes misdiagnosed as schizophrenia. Uh, you start feeling things that don't make any sense. Beyond, the normal, trials and tribulations of puberty, you have to deal with this crap too. The Wizard Boo is a comforting old wizard who raps about Panjian occultism and different spells and incantations to sort of help you along with that. Like I said, he's sort of like a psychic Mr. Rogers. He's comforting, he's informative, he's helpful, and he's just a really good guy. And a close friend of mine once asked, is there any character in your book series that's not kind of an asshole? And I would say absolutely yes. The Wizard Boo is a good guy. Unfortunately, he gets murdered. Because what I answered back is to him is that yes, but they tend to get trampled by the stronger personality characters. Until they start like learning to bite back, essentially. I also kind of accidentally made a metal opera based in my universe that's based way, way in the future. I'm not going to be playing for that tonight because we're already approaching. God, how long have I been? It didn't even. I wish it would show me like a record time. Sorry. Um, but basically, with the Wizard Boo series, he explains basics of Panjian occultism, some pitfalls to avoid, things of that nature. But I think we're going to play Eeper's Anthem and then call it the end of this Thursday night, which has been chaotic and all over the place. And like I said, I really didn't know what to do with this. I decided to pre-record it and not live stream it because, like I said, I don't feel well and I don't really want to fuck with the green screen and the camera and all of that. I know you guys like, seeing me in the corner down there, but yeah. But again, these 3 songs are karaoke'd, and there is a QR code in the actual comic panel that if you scan it with a cell phone camera, it will take you right to the song and play it. Isn't that interactive as hell? I thought it was a really good idea. Some of my friends were like, do you really want to like listen to a song in the middle of reading a comic book? And I'm like, yeah, I listen to music while reading comics all the time. Maybe that's just me, but like I said, I also listen to music while drawing, as we've done previously for over 2 hours. It's like, maybe it's just me, but it's like, yeah, of course, I would love to hear more formats and media from this particular artist, That maybe that, like I said, maybe that's just me. But here we go. Eeper's song, and again, that is the Eeper you see as the main character of Get Good. Because even though there's 4 of them, I had to have like a lead guy. There's got to be a real, main character. Now, I will also, as you can see there with that GIF, I will be releasing little animatics and maybe lyrics going along with these songs as a YouTube video or maybe a YouTube short, just to sort of like shotgun blast my crap out there as best I can. Like going back to Tiggs, like I said, when it comes to character creation, you have to first answer the question of what are they, and then who are they. Who are they is going to be deeply, deeply influenced by what are they, but not entirely, as we saw with the fact of... did I already have him up? Yeah, I already had him up. Never mind. Like I said, Tiggs here would very much like you to overlook the fact that he is Drawfee by the way he presents and carries himself. So, you see that translated in interactions with other Drawfee or even other Panjians is the fact that he doesn't speak unless spoken to. If a tech, biological tech, like Doc here, were to act that way, it would not seem out of character at all. Because in most traditional tech households, you do not speak unless you're spoken to, or unless it's relevant. Of course, amongst families, that restriction is lifted. There's always like dinner conversation, just general socialization amongst the family. But like in public, especially. And again, that's to indoctrinate you and prepare you for a military lifestyle, because tech culture is a very martial culture, going back centuries. But he'll encounter other Drawfee, and one, he doesn't speak Drawfee, so that's a first hurdle. Second is, other Drawfee act like Drawfee, that they have a particular mannerism about them. Like I said, a lot of them have anxiety. Some of them, if they're really good friends with you, like they'll touch you or like pat you on the back, shit like that. And in tech cultures, you don't do that. It's like even your own dad doesn't hug you in tech culture. It's like so he's like he will literally back off when like other Drawfee like try to like buddy up to him, and Drawfee found that to be weird and off-putting and maybe even a little insulting. But if you look at it from the lens of how would you view a tech responding that way, the same. It's like of course you wouldn't be like come up and like grab the shoulders of your tech friend and like kiss him on each cheek. Like no, you're probably gonna get shot. It's like what the fuck was that? That doesn't mean that you're not friendly with them. It's just there's a different expression and way of showing that familiarity that you would not do with certain people. You know what I'm saying? Sort of like the meme of you used personality 1 for friend group 3, and now you're fucked. It's sort of basically that sort of thing. Everyone has their own sort of instruction manual that comes with them. And so, of course, in the humor of both A Fleet and Get Good, they imply he has autism or that he's retarded or it's parents dropped him on the head as a kid because he doesn't act like a normal Drawfee male. Because he kinda isn't. He was raised tech. And so he presents himself and carries himself as a tech. Now, his tech friends don't see any problem with that. But when interacting with other Drawfee, it's like, oh. So, that combined with the childhood he had growing up. His dad is a corpo. He works for a mining consortium, mining asteroids. So he's gone a lot. Not a deadbeat dad in the slightest, just never there. Good money, never wanted for anything, but dad's not there. His only real male role model was his buddy Eeper, who, despite seemingly at this point being the same age, pretty much helped raise him, because remember, Panjians live 3 times longer than most Drawfee or humans. So he sees Eeper as like a big brother / pseudo father, whereas Eeper still considers himself to be a kid, even though he is 80 years old. He's literally old enough to be Tiggs's grandfather, but from his perspective, no, I'm still a young man. I'm still a kid. Because from Panjian's perspective, he is. And then you have the fact that they both love Eeper's mom, Vim, who basically raised both of them. And now we're going to go over why Vim basically raised Tiggs. I'm going to show you a panel. And in this panel, I think from reading it, you're going to understand everything you need to know about the dynamic between Tiggs' parents and himself. And, sadly, his younger siblings. But we're not going to do it in MS Paint. No, don't save. There we go. Don't you read anything else now. Alright. I'm extremely zoomed in because I don't want you to read the other panels because it's spoilers. Now this is just after he signed up for Voodoo Squad. He joined the Navy. Doc was his recruiter. Later, at the Tiggs family apartment, you see there's a dominating the background is a big picture window looking out over the skyline. They pay a lot of money for that picture window. And his mom is on cell phone. Yes, I'll hold. Mama, shh, Dorn, Papa's on the line. Good. Dan, how are you? How are you? Are you coming home soon? Which asteroid are you mining now? Where? Oh, Mama, put Papa on the speaker. Fine, Dorn. Speaker, phone, over the speakerphone. Dorn, how are you? Papa, Mama, I'm joined the Panjian Navy as a pilot. I deploy in a few days. Dad's like, what? Mom's like, this isn't funny, Dorn. He's like, I'm not joking. But if you look in the background, you see his little brothers. And it's kind of really low res. I didn't mean for it, but that's actually his sister from the second litter. And I didn't mean to go full-on dystopian here, but you have like a little iPad sort of thing, and like his little brother like looking up, like it's like, why is no one paying attention to me? While like this demon fucking box of a computer like shows him things. But that is the dynamic here. Daddy's never home. Mama is somewhat neglectful, and he's kind of just sick of it. And that is what you need to know about the Tiggs family. Now, prior and next panels show each characters going home to their parents and explaining what's going on. The different way the parents react shows you what type of environment they grew up in one panel. Alright. Let's see. Well, I got this done, and of course I'm going to green screen myself speaking on top of it. Might even go in costume with a pipe to be Gallon the Second. Maybe. If you're good. And of course, we got sconces there. Let's say, I don't know if I want to animate those or not. But, talking about the Triarchal era, I'm going to have to like retcon or maybe more like elaborate, because there are a lot of triarchs, a lot of triarchies. And I want to just say like something brief on each one so you get sort of like a flavor for them. And let's see, I did save that, I believe. Oh, and like I said, these are all the lyric sheets. Oh, here he is, Wizard Boo. There he is. It's an extreme close-up, but he's conjuring a little bit of fire between his fingertips. And he is based on my my black cat, Butt Monkey. And yes, my cat's name is Butt Monkey. And he's Drawfee, obviously. So he's got kind of hard to see, but he's got the big frumpy wizard's hat with a little jingle bell, ears poking through. Yeah, and that's the Wizard Boo. That's what he looks like. Yes, he's black. Where is it? Ah, there it is. OBS background. Yep, there it is. Okay. Just making sure I saved it. And of course, do yourself a favor and make a properly sized blank. See, I guess. I hate that it saves. I hate and love that it saves in two locations. Alright. And we're not going to go over some of the other songs until later when we cover more. But like I said, because Get Good songs are like just encapsulated in the moment. But to say I had to explain who the hell Tiggs was. Okay, let's do one last thing. We'll do the Eepers song, Eepers anthem. And remember, like I said, the Eeper is a very old traditional job. It's basically just making sure the Eeps don't kill you in the middle of the night. And that's an occupation slash surname. You could have had ancestors who were Eepers, but were not Eepers. You know what I mean? There was the Eeper family who did that exclusively as a multi-generational role. And there are people who served as Eepers, but they are not surnamed Eeper. You know, see what I'm saying? It's both an occupation and a surname.
Hello, I'm Squad Leader Eeper. And this is a song I've been tinkering with for a while. Tonight I'm gonna sing it for you. Hush now, child. Go to sleep.
And this is not canonically what his voice sounds like, just to remind everyone. It's just Pseudo's interpretation.
Sleep with no fear. The Eepers stand guard with leather and lance all night, dear. By the dawn of the early light, the Eeps shall flee to the woods west and east, and our Eepers will return home, and on Eve's flesh we shall feast. It's an old lullaby, quiet and sweet, but the reality is we'd all be dead if not for these insanely brave men with fire and blade. They fought real monsters every night they would invade. We have forgotten the facts. The Eeps used to be way bigger than they are now. We killed the larger ones, and over time the tiny ones thrived. We made them pack hunters in response to yearly cullings, the consequences, seemingly logical acts. They were once 100 pounds and hip high at their backs.
Referring to Mega Eeps.
We got you in the night from by fire and blade in the days of old, wicker armor and stone spear, and now by shotgun and steel, spiked armor. We patrol the barricades for the night, guardians without.
Alright, hate to interrupt the flow, but I based Eeper's armor on Russian bear fighting or hunting armor. It literally is like a gimp suit with spikes all around it. That's the only way I can describe it. But basically, it's really the only way you can protect yourself from what is essentially a fucking dog-sized velociraptor. So, yeah. Sorry.
Fear, but sometimes the monsters don't come from the woods at night. Sometimes it's bad men who wish bad things that we must fight. The bandit king and his knights would return to Baylor Mint, heavy in loot and drunk on stolen booze, itching for a proper fight. They taunt and mock the Eepers until they simply said, who's gonna guard you while you sleep? The people of Bailment cried for the Eepers to kill the bandits in their sleep.
Alright, two quick things. 3, sorry. It's supposed to be sometimes. but I liked how this turned out so good that I let the spelling mistake stand. Baylorment is not spelled correctly. I had to break it up phonetically so it would pronounce it correctly. And remember when I said that Eepers branched out eventually into military and law enforcement? Well, that's what the people are referring to a Baylorment. It's like cried out for the Eepers to kill them. In other words, fucking arrest these dudes. And the Eepers in ancient Baylorment were just Eepers. They just patrolled around and kept the Eeps away.
The first silenced them by asking, how could anyone trust us after that? We are not soldiers or police. We guard against the Eeps. The three groups came to a begrudging deal. Every night to the Eepers, the bandits would surrender their armor and weapons of steel. Within Baylorment, they would not murder or steal. In turn, the Eepers would not murder them in their sleep nor into their tents. Simply allow the Eeps to creep. With a handshake and signature on charter, the deal was sealed. Until one day a man of justice arrived, and that arrangement was appealed by crossing of steel. The bandit king was called out by fearsome cockerel. We stood fast to block his knights from interfering in the duel. We agreed only to let them sleep in peace. We never agreed to defend them from the Tech Nation's laws. Do you think us a fool? We watched lances crossed and locked as the bandits shouted and shoved, as the Charkeys' left hand cut down the king they so beloved. The bandits fell silent as the ranger replaced the king's crown for a waxed bag. Dirty and brown, he rode off to gift his king the head of another. We all stared at each other for a moment, and then the chaos began. The bandits were dragged out to the center of town. The people in Eepers acted as one. Drumhead trials were held for the rest of the day. Each night of banditry was marked with an X on each cheek and expelled once again. Truly welcome nowhere, not even in Baylorment. That night we went back to patrol, because that is our role.
We got you in the night from we got you in the night from we
like I said, Suno 4.5 understands the assignment. Like I said, are these exactly like what I pictured in my head canon of what these songs should sound like? Absolutely not. But sometimes Suno very pleasantly surprises me with their accompaniment and choices of, I guess, lyrical structure versus accompaniment. Um, and call that a night. Like I said, I think I really would like a timer for. I guess I could set a timer or whatever too. I don't know, but I think I started streaming at midnight. Was it 11? So it's been a while. But yeah, like I said, I'm not feeling well, so that's why I didn't live stream. I don't want to mess around with the green screen, put all that crap up, put my lights up, because I of course, like most YouTubers, do this out of a bedroom. So, I have to put everything back down after. Yeah, I don't have like a setup studio where it's just always up and running. I gotta, tear shit down so I can go to bed, basically. But, yeah. Um, like I said, other than, watching a little bit of my process, hearing about my character creation or theorem, like I said, I think a lot of people get hung up on cart before the horse. They want to create a generic character and then throw them into a situation when they genuinely don't understand the character they've created because they haven't made any backstory or any type of history or just in any type of uh, reaction, not reaction, but any type of pre-existing conditions that would shape their reactions. Yeah. So, well, thank you for making it this far. If you're listening / watching, and like I said, no, Thursdays are not going to be like this all the time. It's just because of circumstances. Just it's probably going to be more akin to, the previous stream where I'm like, in the corner commenting on things. Next Thursday, I might do some reactions to like YouTube Shorts or something like that. I don't know. But like I said, Thursday is fun day. Sunday is going to be hardcore getting back into the book series. All right. And of course, as usual, all of the links below to purchase my graphic novels. If you feel like sending me some love via PayPal or Cash App, that is very much appreciated and is considered a tip because it's not taxable anymore, or at least up to 25 grand. So yeah, like I said, thank you for watching. Oh, one last shout out to White Bat Audio, Karl Casey at White Bat Audio. Like I said, love your stuff, guy. Just a fan, not a paid promotion. But you can see that he gets a lot of love too. And like I said, if you enjoy Dark Synthwave, this is your guy. And he's very, very prolific. He always puts something new up, like every couple of days. All right. Goodbye.